Now the knuckleball is one of the hardest techniques in football, but here's the problem. I'm just not very good at it.
So I'm going to cheat. Now I have hit some decent knuckleballs over the years, but there's no consistency there.
Oh!
So this time round, instead of spending weeks, months or even years learning this technique, I'm going to see if I can improve by changing the ball itself. I've come up with 10 possible things that I can do to the football to hopefully make it knuckle more. From helium to sandpaper to demon skin. I'm hoping that at the end of the video we'll have found a ball that's perfect for the knuckleball. A ball that is launched with minimal spin, resulting in a trajectory that is erratic and unpredictable. So here's how it's going to work. I'll be having 20 shots with each ball and counting how many times it knuckles. Then by the end of the video we should have a full list on what is the best way to cheat the knuckleball. First up, I'll be having 20 shots with a normal football. This will give us a baseline that we can compare to the other balls. As you can see, I was having a tough time making this ball move. I've found that modern balls are so well made these days that it is difficult to make them move as much. Well, I guess by the end of the video we'll find out if there's any truth to that. So with the normal football, I hit one knuckleball from 20 shots. Now I've got to mention, the knuckleballs don't have to look like this. Anything that fits the description of minimal spin and a bit of movement will count as a knuckle. Now we've got all that cleared up, let's get on to the first ball. The Jabulani. It would be rude not to include this ball and see how it compares. And it seriously did not disappoint. I don't need any music or commentary for this, just enjoy it.
Oh my god. Oh. 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 Oh my god. Oh.
So from 20 shots, the Jabulani knuckled 13 times. That's actually ridiculous.
This ball seriously never fails to amaze me. Now for this next ball, quite a few years ago, people said that to cheat the knuckleball, all you've got to do is use a flat ball. So I'm going to take some air out of this ball and then hopefully we'll hit some knuckleballs.
So making the ball flatter didn't really make a difference to the knuckleballs. On top of that, I couldn't hit it very far and it ended up being a worse shot overall. But using a flat football allowed me to get 2 knuckleballs out of 20. Let's see if this next ball does any better.
I think this is going to be perfect. I mean, it's already wobbling about in my hands, so...
Next up, I tried a water-filled football. I had high hopes for this ball because it felt weird in my hands. But it was a complete flop as far as knuckleballs are concerned. Every time I hit this ball, it would create a load of topspin. That meant it would dip quite nicely, but definitely didn't knuckle. 0 out of 20. Now you've probably heard that striking the ball on the valve is a way to make it knuckle, so I tried that out. Turns out it made no difference, 1 out of 20. Now rubbing sandpaper on a football might seem strange, but I have a theory behind this. I heard that having a ball that is perfectly round is one of the reasons it knuckles, so making it as round as possible is worth a try. But it literally made no difference, 2 knuckleballs out of 20.
Right, now these are the ultimate cheat, but I'm not really sure if they count.
Now if you truly want to hit a knuckleball every time, these are the balls to use.
Absolute joke, that ball.
Just look at that, 20 out of 20 times this ball knuckles, but it feels very different to a normal football, so I'm not really sure if I can count it on the list.
Right, so for this next ball, we need a football and some duct tape, and you're gonna have to hear me out on this one because it might sound a little strange, but I've got reason to believe that it might work. Okay, now this is gonna look very strange, but here's the way I see it. I look at this ball like an aeroplane, like turbulence on an aeroplane. These are the wings, and hopefully, as the ball's traveling through the air, the wind should catch these and then move it up and down, left to right, like turbulence on a plane. If my calculations are correct, this ball should knuckle more than anything else we've tested so far. I'm excited for this one.
So I headed to the pitch with high hopes, and this is how it went down. Yep, so it didn't knuckleball once, but it was worth a try. Hopefully this next ball performs better. It's a super cheap glider football. Now I've noticed in the past that sometimes, for whatever reason, cheap balls seem to knuckle really well. So let's put it to the test. Interestingly, this ball actually performed pretty well for knuckleballs. I hit 4 out of 20, and I really don't have an answer to why it moves so well. Next up, an old-fashioned football. I've seen these move in the past, and due to the fact they're not 100% round, it may lead to them knuckling more. Now, with the 1930s football, I didn't hit one knuckleball, which is pretty disappointing because I had high hopes for this ball. Next up, the wobbly football. Let's test it. Now, whilst this ball moves very strange, especially on the ground, it doesn't knuckle. 0 out of 20.
Right, now this next ball could be a stroke of genius or the biggest waste of time in my life, and it involves these gloves because they've got something on them called devil skin.
So these gloves, as well as the Adidas Predator boots, have a technology called demon skin, and here's my theory. The reason the Jabulani moves so much is because it's a round object with tiny little grooves on it that catch the wind and move it erratically. So surely if I make those grooves bigger, it just gives the wind more area to catch on and therefore move more. So with that in mind, I spent what can only be described as hours cutting off the rubber fins from the gloves and super gluing them onto the ball until I created this thing, the world's first demon skin football, and hopefully the perfect ball for movement and knuckles. So I took it to the pitch to test out.
I've got high hopes for this thing. Let's see what it can do.
So the first shot was decent, but not a knuckleball.
Oh my days.
Second shot in and we already had some nice movement.
This is absolute scenes, this could be working. Honestly, I really do think this is working. Unbelievable scenes. Oh my god.
After a few poor shots, we had a really nice bit of movement on this one.
Oh my god. I really hope it shows on camera just how much this ball is moving and how strange it's moving. Right, we've got 5 shots left, and honestly, I feel like every time this ball has moved at least a little bit. There's been a few really good ones. 5 more left. There we go. Alright, let's have a look at the results of that, but I'm pretty sure that absolutely smashed it.
So 6 out of 20 knuckles was the final result, and I think that's a really good score. It felt like every time I hit this ball, even if it wasn't a pure knuckleball, there was at least a little bit of unpredictability to its movement. On to the next one. Now, before we look into the final results, there is one more ball I want to test out. Filling a football with helium.
How quickly does it fill up? Now, one thing about filling the ball with helium, it makes it absolutely rock solid.
Look at the curve on this first shot, it's actually crazy. Now, I only managed to hit one knuckleball with the helium, but I did hit about 4 top pins in a row. Check this out.
Oh, there we go.
I think the fact the ball was so hard made it really difficult to knuckle. Now let's take a look at the final results. The duct tape, wobbly ball, water ball and the 1930s ball all got 0 out of 20. The normal football, hitting the valve and helium got 1 out of 20. The flat ball and the sandpaper ball got 2 out of 20. Coming in at third place we have the cheap ball, 4 out of 20. Second place we have demon skin with 6 out of 20. And first place, the best way to cheat the knuckleball is the Jabulani, 13 out of 20 knuckleballs. Which is crazy to think I've tried all these things to make the perfect knuckleball, and the whole time the Jabulani remains on top.